Chris King, VMware. You had an inspiring talk this morning about all the new things coming our direction. Lots of stuff happening. One question which sprung to mind was, what does this actually mean for networking professionals? Because when you look at it, you could also maybe think there's a whole bunch of skills which is now hidden under an iPad screen, and those guys are no longer needed. But that's too simple, I guess.
It's too simple. You know, the thing is networking professionals have learned over the last probably 20 years a lot of hard lessons. Lessons about how to do long distance networking, about how to do resilient data center networking fabrics, about networking protocols, lots of mistakes made, lots of lessons learned, lots of knowledge earned, really. And I think the danger if you know, VMware were to say, oh well, we can do all this in software, you're not needed. The danger is we have to learn all that again. So the knowledge base the networking professionals have is extremely valuable. And their value to the industry is, I don't think really in question. I think the difference is there's a tremendous opportunity, because all those lessons about wide area networking and routing and layer 2 and layer 3 and layer 4 through 7 services, all those lessons are still valid. How you apply them is changing. You know, think about it as you know, if you were you built houses and you used a hammer, and along came a nail gun that allowed you to put up houses, you know, 10 times faster. That's a good thing. That's basically what we're talking about.
You still need to understand how to construct a house.
You still need to understand how to construct a house. You still need to know how to build things robustly and neatly and square. And the same thing's true in networking. You're going to use programmatic interfaces. You're going to use, you're going to drive things in a way that with a kind of leverage that you've never had before as a networking person. And that should be incredibly exciting, because you basically, the value that you as an individual networking professional can bring is much amplified. You have much more leverage. You don't need an army of folks. You can have one person who's really smart about design drive a tremendous amount of network. So I think that's the opportunity. Sure, you got to learn some new things, but I think the new things that you learn will make you even more valuable as a networking professional to your organization.
Now traditionally there always was a kind of chasm between the cable guys and the server guys, and the console guys, and sometimes they invented this and want us to do that, and
right.
Back and forth. How do you think this will influence that traditional playing field between those two professional types of professionals?
I think there's a couple things there. One is when you look at the success that the server guys have had. So you look at what's happened in the compute silo. These guys are riding a 10-year wave of success based on the virtualization of compute, based on their ability to deliver a 10x ability in efficiency. So I can deliver the same amount of compute for a 10th the cost. And by the way, I can deliver it in a 30th of the time. You know, so it's this huge success.
It's a good role model.
It's a great role model. And the networking people they've seen this. And you know, one of the promises that virtualization holds for a lot of networking professionals, when you virtualize a network, they're looking at that same success and saying, I want a piece of that. Now the other thing that's interesting is a lot of these roles are coming together in a sense, where server people have to know more about networking. Networking people have to know more about servers. They have to know more about applications and how applications behave, and chattiness matters, and latency matters for certain applications, and bandwidth matters for others. All those kinds of things they've known over the years, but they actually have to come up a level to understand the nature of that application and how it behaves, not just on the network, but also in the overall infrastructure.
Right.
So I think there's a cross-pollination that's going on that's great. You know, I just came from a meeting a couple of minutes ago where both parties actually understood each other pretty well and were respectful. It wasn't kind of this internecine warfare that you see in some organizations. So I think in the more enlightened organizations, there's a desire and a willingness to work together to build a better IT.
So looking back maybe 5 or 7 years forward, which is almost impossible, this virtualization will be the de facto, will be the great pacifier, and there will be network professionals, no, data center professionals rather than compute professionals, storage professionals.
I think you'll have. I think that's true. I think you'll have data center professionals. I think there's a couple things that 5 to 7 years from now. I think you're still going to have specialists. You're going to have people with deep networking expertise. You're going to have people with deep server and virtualization expertise. You'll still have those specialists, people who really want to dig deep into that technology. But I think the other thing that's going to happen is this is going to power an incredible flexibility for the business. So there will be, I won't just understand about my own data center network, but I'll understand about all of my cloud providers' data center networks and what services they offer and where I can move things and when I can't. So I might have a policy that says, hey, for customer-facing, customer data, revenue-generating applications, I run those in-house. So my ability to move those things around is actually guarded by the infrastructure. I don't have to consciously do anything about it. I set a policy and the infrastructure interprets that policy and says, okay, I have the ability to enforce that in the following 3 places. Those other places are not options for me with this particular application. So that level of sophistication I expect to really creep into the lexicon of the networking professional, of the data center professional, as you put it.
Okay, and then in the end, probably you don't know how it was even imaginable that you spent so long doing all those physical things to achieve something which it was basically turns out to be simple.
But I mean, that to some extent, that's the history of computer science.
It is.
I mean, you go back to when bugs were actually bugs in a mainframe where you had tubes and you had bugs crawling around and creating problems for computers. So I mean, this is kind of the history of our industry.
It's the natural flow.
Yes.
Okay. Chris, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And have a great rest of the day here.